Welcome back to Vancouver Carpenter. So, once again, one of my kids decided that hanging or swinging on a cabinet door was a good idea, and they pulled it out of the cabinet. So, this is an IKEA hardware, and it's got the little plastic inserts that fit into these little holes. So I think what we're actually going to have to do is pull this whole thing out, fill the whole thing, and then re-drill the hole. So what I'm going to try and use for this is some 10-year-old epoxy, because I think that that's going to hold into the old particle board really well, and then it's also going to hold the plastic thing pretty well too. The only thing that could be a problem is that it might be a little bit slick, as in the particle board kind of has these fibers that the little plastic anchor can lock into, and this, when drilled out, is just going to be kind of a smooth hole. So hopefully it works really well. Anyways, time for me to get this thing out of here and get that going on. Might need something like a putty knife to help pull the other side out so that you don't break it. Alright you guys, so I'm going to be drilling into here. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that my drill bit won't go through the side of the cabinet. The carcass, as it's also known. So now with that there, that's pretty close, but I know if I hit the tape, I'm running the risk of going through this. Okay you guys, I want to make a couple quick little anchor holes. That might be difficult to do because the drill bit's just going to want to slide around here. So what I did was I angled it this way a bunch, and I'm going to try and do another one this way, and maybe even one up. And what that's going to do is that's going to stop the plug, you know, the bit of epoxy that we put in here. That's going to stop it from being able to pull out, like when you go to the dentist and get a filling. So I actually think just those two little holes I made are going to be enough. So one's going that way, one's going that way, and like I said, it's just going to anchor it in there. Like if you've ever gotten a filling and you've had the dentist explain what they do, they actually create a hole in your tooth that's bigger than the cavity and that goes a little bit wider so that the filling can't come out. If you guys get what I mean. It's a shape like this, and then you have an almost triangular shaped filling. It can't pull out. So that's the same idea what we're trying to do here. So we're not relying on just the strength of the epoxy alone. We're actually creating a mechanical bond too, because it's got those two little prongs that are going to be going in. So next I want to clean this out so that of course we get the best bond possible. So I'm also going to put just a little bit of tape around this so that as we put the epoxy on, we don't get it all over this thing. And I got a really old roll of tape here. You guys know when it does this? It drives me crazy. But we don't need much, so hopefully we can get this job done. Oh my god, it's pulling. Okay, put a little right there. That could just go right there. And you know what, the cabinet hardware, like the hinge itself, this thing right here, that's going to cover most of what we do here. So we don't need to worry too much about not making a mess. We just don't want to get it like all over here, you know. So there we go. Time to mix up some epoxy. And I'm going to get one extra little piece of tape to squish it down with so it doesn't fall out. Keep that handy right there. Okay, we have some truly ancient epoxy here. The gray stuff is coming out right here, but the other stuff won't come out. Hopefully it can, otherwise I have to run to the store. Pause the video. Oh good, there we go. There we go. The gray stuff wants to come out way easier though. I remember that from the last time. Push really hard on that side. Whoa. Tough stuff. Fortunately, I don't need too much of it. And I can put it away for another 10 years. Let's do a little extra. It should be enough. This stuff smells like my cat's breath. Got a few little chunks in there from that nozzle being all clogged. That's okay. That's fiber. Serious though, it smells like when my cat yawns in my face. Gross. I hope I mixed enough. It sure felt like I mixed a lot, but now it's not looking like so much. Make sure we get it into those little anchors. It'll be enough. But let's keep going just in case. Okay, leaving it pretty flat. And now, last thing, let's throw this on here just to make sure it stays pretty flat. That should do. I'm happy with that. Alright you guys, this stuff, it's firmed up enough. It really hasn't been firming up very quickly though, I'll tell you that much. It's still kind of tacky, but it's hard enough to drill into now, so I think it'll work. As long as nobody uses it as a swing or a ladder, again, overnight, before I manage to let this firm up fully. Now Bondo probably would have been faster than this because this has been a couple hours and it's still like slightly tacky and I can put my thumbnail into it. Maybe it's just because it's 10 years old. But I think long term this is going to be way stronger. I think the force from that little plastic plug could actually crack the Bondo. And also Bondo is so stinky that I don't think my wife and kids would have tolerated that smell. So that's why I chose to use cat's breath epoxy. Alright, so I'm working at home. So I've got the, the marker of choice. This is my kid's tattoo gun. What do we got here? That one is at 3/4 of an inch in. That's nice and easy. So let's get a 3/4 of an inch mark right here. And what's the spacing here? 1.25 inches. There we go. I mean, it's right smack in the middle of that, so that makes sense. Okay, let's drill this nice and square. Yeah, it's melting it. Darn. But I think it is working. I'm just gonna spin it a little slower. Should be good enough. I'm gonna let that cool down real quick so that it's not all gooey and plasticky. Alright, now let's try and get this thing in. Hopefully it goes in without much of a struggle. Yeah, that's holding for sure. And actually the plastickiness might even be helping because it's not cracking. Like I think uncured Bondo would have just cracked. Okay, that's good. This one in. I think even cured Bondo could have cracked. I think leaving the epoxy overnight might be the best option. Yeah, that's solid. I'm happy with that. And that's a pretty clean repair. Once we get this thing over top, it covers it so you can't even see the repair. Okay. Yeah, you guys, I'm super happy with that repair. That worked. And I don't think it's going to come out because remember, it's anchored the other directions. So if it ever does come out again, it's gonna blow a huge hole out of here. But I think that's gonna be hard to do because that stuff is so sticky and really strong. So yeah, I'm super happy with that. So that's actually my first time making that repair. But you know what? It worked out really well, and I'll definitely recommend that method. So if you have a white carcass on your cabinets, you can probably custom order white epoxy and stuff, but honestly, like, I can barely see that. But yeah, white epoxy, and I'm sure there's all sorts of other colors if you really dig around the internet. But anyways, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is and say this is a good repair. I definitely think that if you guys need to patch this and you have the IKEA style hinge with that little plastic insert that gets screwed into, that's a good fix. So I didn't want to try just gluing it on or anything else. Like, I figured that I needed to actually make what I had to refasten into, rescrew into, really solid. And I'm confident that this is. So now my kids can get back to using this as swings and ladders. Hope she learned that time. The worst thing they do is in the kitchen, sometimes they'll actually use these as shelves, and like some of the ones we have are so overloaded, especially with like glass, and I see them do that, I'm like, get off! Because all I can picture is them like standing on that thing, and the little plastic things that hold the little plastic inserts that hold the shelves up just snap, and then all the glass comes down. Anyways, you guys didn't need to know about all that. That's just what I fear as a parent. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. I hope this video helps you get that fixed, and I'm confident that if you use this method, it's going to work really well. So anyways, thanks for watching Vancouver Carpenter. Hope you're doing well. Till the next video.